All right, now at the end, we have the concept of composite volume. All this really means is that you are taking two or more of the three-dimensional shapes that we have already learned about. So it could be a cylinder and a cone. It could be a pyramid on top of a prism, making a house shape. It could be an ice cream cone, which is a very, very common one. And all you're really going to do is take the volume of each of them individually and then add those two volumes together. And I put here the most common one you often see is the ice cream cone situation. The one below is very similar, but instead of being a cone, it's a cylinder down here. So we're imagining that we took, say a knife and just chopped this hemisphere off the top. So I'm left with a cylinder down here at the bottom, and I'm going to have a hemisphere, my half of a ball up on top. It doesn't matter which order you do this in. I chose to do the hemisphere first. If you notice, for both the cylinder down here and the hemisphere up top, the radius is 4. So for each of these, I have radius 4. All I'm doing is plugging that into each of the two equations. So on the top, I did hemisphere, which is volume equals 2/3 pi r cubed. I plugged in 4 for radius. I cubed that, so 4 times 4 times 4 gives me 64. Again, I like to multiply my numbers together first and then divide by 3. So I multiply the 64 times the numerator here. 64 times 2 gives me 128. And then finally, I divide by 3. So I get an answer of 42.666 pi, where that 6 would be repeating forever. You'll notice I just rounded some of these answers to the nearest tenth, which is perfectly fine for now. And that's 42.7 pi meters cubed. Or if I chose to put this into decimal form and I multiplied that out, either using the pi button or by multiplying times 3.14159, I would come up with a volume of 134 meters cubed. Again, either of these answers are acceptable. You just want to be in the habit of recognizing if the answer is in terms of pi, you can stop here. If the answer is in decimal form, you would want to solve all the way. Then you take the cylinder, again, which has the same 4-meter radius. So I plug that into my cylinder equation, which again is volume equals pi r squared. So in this case, and that's pi r squared times height, excuse me. So I put volume equals pi radius of 4 squared, and my height was 9. So I plugged in the 9 here. So then I'm multiplying volume equals pi of 4 times 4 is 16. So pi 16 times 9. I multiply those two together, and I recognize that the volume of my cylinder is 144 pi meters cubed. Again, I can multiply that by pi and get the decimal answer of 452.4 meters cubed. So now here I go ahead and find my sum. This gives me 42.7 pi plus 144 pi. And when I add those together, my answer is going to be 186.7 pi meters cubed. Or again, I can actually multiply that and get a decimal answer of 586.5 meters cubed. Again, I did some rounding here, so you'll notice if I were to add both these together here, it would have been 586.4. So if you're within 1/10, that's perfectly fine if you're also doing a little bit of rounding.